Why? How's it looking, Doc?
Well, everything seems to be around the same, you know. Considering you basically never sleep, your diet consists of entirely coffee and gummy bears.
I know, I'm trying to do better, but it's been a really stressful time, you know?
There is one significant improvement, however. Your blood pressure has returned to normal.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Well, is there anything that was causing you a great deal of stress that's no longer there? You know, maybe something that hasn't been part of your life for a while?
Milo! Yeah, that's right. Everyone's favorite Sacha Baron Cohen character has been off the grid for some time now, and it's been nice, right? There was a period last year when, like acne on a 16-year-old's face, it seemed that Milo Yiannopoulos was popping up everywhere. When he wasn't trolling people on Twitter or writing alt-light hit pieces on Breitbart, he was arguing with feminists on YouTube or showing up to college campuses around the country and causing riots.
The campus locked down as more than 1,000 people rallied against the appearance of a controversial editor from Breitbart, Milo Yiannopoulos.
After coming to prominence during the online horror show that was Gamergate and building a reverent following of teenage boys admiring him for his courage in attacking women and the trans community, he then turned his attention to Muslims and immigrants. He was instrumental in whipping up the conspiracy-crazed, vitamin D deficient trolls lurking on the corners of the internet into a political power, and helping the alt-right movement gain prominence in the mainstream. At the height of his, career, he was touring the world, rubbing shoulders with politicians and celebs, and getting invited to speak at Republican conventions. That is, until...
As an editor at the far-right website Breitbart, Milo Yiannopoulos declared war on political correctness. But today he learned there are limits to free expression.
The clip came from a Drunken Peasants podcast interview on YouTube.
You're misunderstanding what pedophilia means.
With the openly gay Yiannopoulos arguing sexual relationships between 13-year-old boys and men in their 20s could be consensual.
One of the highest profile editors at Breitbart News has resigned.
Overnight, the giant blimp pimple that was Milo burst into flames and came crashing down. The Republicans dropped him, Breitbart dropped him, he lost his book deal. He was also banned from Twitter for the second time after he led an online abuse campaign against Ghostbusters star Leslie Jones. And slowly but surely, one of Donald Trump's 7 Horcruxes was defeated, mostly by his own stupidity. He tried to stay relevant. He sued his publisher, then published his memoir Dangerous himself, but no matter how much he tried, it seemed like his starring role in the reality TV train wreck that was US politics was finally over. He was reduced to a fate solely reserved for only the saddest and most desperate of self-promoters itching for a whiff of attention, aka alt-right purgatory, aka InfoWars.
Let me remind you about InfoWars Life's Icurin. Here we go. The best endorsement I can give you, because I'm very careful about what I put inside myself. As many... I won't make that joke, actually. We go out on the radio, don't we? Oh, let's do it.
So why am I talking about him now? Well, because this week our flamboyant savior returned. And it turns out he's actually kind of a bit of a snowflake. In a bizarre and unprompted rant leaked on Facebook, he attacked his own fans for abandoning him in his time of need. Now, normally I'm a strong believer in ignoring trolls. And while I'm not here to give any oxygen to any of Milo's views or opinions on, well, anything, this is too good an opportunity to pass up. And so, I present to you a dramatic reading. Here we go. Siri, play me something appropriate.
Like this.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Are you serious? Do you know how much therapy I had to undergo to put that out of my life?
Jesus, calm down.
All right, that's much better. Here we go. Over the past 3 years, I have spent literally millions of dollars trying to do talks, speeches, events, rallies, and protests, to say nothing of all the stuff I do behind the scenes I can never tell you about. A lot of that money was my own wealth from before I even started in journalism. My events almost never happened. It's protests or sabotage from Republican competitors or social media outcries. Every time it cost me tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars. But when I get dumped from conferences, barely anyone makes a sound about it. Not my fellow conservative media figures, and not even, in many cases, you guys. I have repeatedly put myself in harm's way in the service of American values. I fought bitterly and endlessly for freedom in a country I don't even belong to. Not for my benefit, but for yours. I've even been betrayed and abandoned by everyone who ever called themselves my friend. You guys have no idea what I have sacrificed for you. And you think just because I drown my sorrows with a few expensive bottles of wine, you're justified in calling me lazy and self-involved. I don't advertise my selflessness because I'm not a victim. But for the love of God, show some recognition of what your frontline warriors have accomplished on your behalf. You entitled fucking babies.
24 hours later.
So guys, I kinda casually snapped at someone in the comments the other day. Didn't realize it was going to become a thing in the media and on Twitter. Apparently, I'm so rarely a human being that it's big news. So apologies for being a bit too real in the last day or two if you were distressed. Hate to break it to you, but even superheroes have off days once every few years. My critics have done me a favor again by reminding me that what they really want is to shame and humiliate me into silence. That will never fucking happen. Angel face, kissy face.
I don't care about the feelings of a generation that has been raised to feel sorry for itself and to blame other people for all of its problems. I don't give a rat's ass about pandering to somebody who has been miseducated into believing that they are an oppressed victim when they're not. It gains me nothing. But I don't give a fuck about your feelings.
So after all that happened, just to rub salt in Milo's saltiness, he gets dropped again, this time from a bipartisan convention called Politicon in LA. And then the organizers went public to make sure there was no confusion, that it wasn't a scheduling issue, but that Milo was formally uninvited. So good, so good. All right, before we go, here are my favorite top facts about Milo Yiannopoulos. 1. In 2013, he hosted a birthday party for his 29th birthday, but then lied and said he was turning 27. 2. He published 2 poetry books under the pen name Milo Andreas Wagner, in which he plagiarized song lyrics from Tori Amos and then later pretended the whole thing was a joke.
I've been where the trains don't run, honey. Work.
And finally, remember how he was suing his publisher for dropping him? He ended up dropping that lawsuit after his own lawyers dropped him for irreconcilable differences. Alright, that's it for this week. If you liked it, comment and subscribe and share, especially if you want to irk and fuel the ire of right-wing trolls everywhere. To the trash heap of history you go, Milo Andreas Wagner. Don't get too sad now. Bye-bye.